to the Becoming You show, where limits get torched and possibility takes the mic. I'm Leah Roling, human in permanent beta, neurostrategist, mom to 3 amazing humans, married to 1 legendary soul, and your no fluff permission slip to stop waiting. Every week, we rewire brain patterns, smash hand-me-down mindsets, and dive into the daring, identity-shifting conversations most people dodge. Ready to turn potential into proof? Grab your pen. Your next chapter starts now. Hello, my friends. Welcome back. First, let me just say thank you. Thank you for being here, for listening, for leaning into these conversations with me. I don't take your time lightly. There are 1,000 other places that you could put your attention, that you could put your time, but you're here. I like to think about all of you here in my office, and we're just having a conversation. But it means the world to me, and it means that you're serious about your growth. It means that you're serious about becoming the leader of your own life, and that you care tremendously about the impact that you know you have. And that fires me up. So today we are diving into a truth that I think gets wildly misunderstood. We talk all of the time about physical health, right? And we celebrate the sacrifice like it's a badge of honor. And in many ways it is, right? We accept that to build a strong body, right? We have to give something up in the short term for something greater in the long term. There's probably not anybody out there that would argue that point with me. And that's what sacrifice is, right? Trading a quick now win for a bigger later win. And so when we think about building physical strength, and when we talk about this sacrifice, what it might look like is choosing sleep over another Netflix episode. It might look like choosing water over alcohol. It might look like going to the gym instead of scrolling on your phone, eating something that nourishes you instead of something that toxifies you, okay? Nobody sugarcoats this. Nobody makes this easier for you, okay? Nobody tells you that getting strong is without sacrifice, okay? We know that in order to get ourselves physically strong, we know that we have to rip muscles, we have to tear them down, okay? We know we have to put ourselves in discomfort on purpose, right? And then when we're sore the next day, we get high-fived. Again, badge of honor. But when it comes to emotional and mental health, I believe that we are beginning to do the opposite. We handle adversity like it's fragile, like it has to be tiptoed around with like kid gloves. We soften the truth. We sugarcoat the struggle. And in doing so, we rob ourselves and others of the very strength we're desperate for. It's like we are telling people, instead of going to the gym to get physically strong, you should just do the opposite. You should just stay in bed all day. Okay? And I want to bring forward a client's story that kind of made this conversation come to life for me in a way that I'm hoping always to present it to you. Most of these conversations that I get to have with you all have to do with either what I'm navigating or what my clients are navigating. So recently, I had a client who was navigating some big emotions, some difficult emotions. There were some rumors that were being spread about her, stories that she felt betrayed by, not only because of the words themselves, right, but because the people spreading them didn't come directly to her, right? They chose their version of the story instead of having a conversation with her about it. And her instinct was to lean in on the popular let them theory, right? And now let me say this. I think the let them theory is brilliant, Okay. It's freeing. I love Mel. It's logical. It's a great place to begin because yes, people have agency. Yes, people will do what they do. And yes, you cannot control them. But when she offered that up to me by way of saying, I'm just trying to let them spread the rumors. If I didn't know who they were, it'd be easier to let them spread the rumors. But I'm falling short in the let them because I still feel betrayed. Okay? Here's the thing. Let them is the beginning. It's not the end. It is a first step and a great first step. Okay? But if growth is the goal, it can feel insufficient because you can't solve an emotional problem with logic. Right? Logic says to let them. Emotion says I'm betrayed. And that is what we're always solving for. We're always solving for an emotional problem. Rarely ever are we solving a logical problem. The only thing that we're ever trying to solve is our emotions. It's always the emotional layer underneath the logic. So my client let them, but she still felt betrayed. She still felt angry. She ruminated. She wanted to retaliate. She also felt tremendous sadness. And so she avoided the conversation. And I want you to see how this played out, friends, because this is what we do in our lives. And by avoiding that conversation, she betrayed herself. And by her own definition of betrayal, right, she was doing the very thing she resented them for, choosing the easy path instead of the courageous one, right? That's the sneaky part, right? That's the hypocritical part that comes into play as we navigate operating from default, operating from our unconscious self, which is always the conversation in these podcasts, in these episodes, is to get you thinking consciously. Because as long as we're unconsciously, there's going to be hypocrisy. There will be hypocrisy. We judged them for betraying us while we did the exact same thing to ourselves and calling it self-respect, right? By our own definition, we abdicated that they betrayed us because they chose their story over having a conversation with us. And she did the exact same thing. She avoided having a conversation with them, and she labeled that self-respect, self-protection, while they were betrayers. And the reason why I bring this forward here is because I really want to unpack what's really going on, okay? This is where the work really begins. So every emotion has a language. Every so-called negative emotion, betrayal, frustration, disappointment, discouragement, is an unmet need, okay? Trying to get your attention. Betrayal, in this case, wasn't just about them. It was about her. It was about the conversation that she wasn't willing to have with them. It was about the expectation that she had misplaced that was robbing her of her joy. And that's the gold. That's the gold in there. If we had just stopped at just let them and try to solve an emotional problem of betrayal with a logical problem or a logical solution of just let them, we would have missed it. We would have missed the lesson that betrayal was trying to teach, right? Emotions don't go away simply because we excuse other people's behavior by letting them. I'm going to say that again. Emotions don't go away. How you feel doesn't go away simply because we excuse other people's behavior by letting them. They only dissolve when we learn why we have them in the first place. Think about that. The only reason we would ever need to think let them is because we feel we shouldn't be letting them. right? Think of it, let's go back to the gym analogy. You don't get stronger watching someone else lift. You get stronger lifting the weight yourself. Emotional strength is no different. Now, some of you might be thinking, Leah, this sounds too simple. And you know what? You're right. It is simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. We like to make it complicated. We like to overthink it. Because as long as we can stay confused, we don't have to make a decision. Confusion is safe. Complexity feels protective. But clarity requires a commitment. And commitment asks us to actually change. So, if emotions had a language, and I want you to start to think about where you're using let them, either from Mel or from other teachings, right? And where you are being stopped short of the logic there is an emotion there that's trying to get your attention. It has a language. They all do. And if that is true, we are always in a relationship with them, whether we realize it or not. Right? We are in a relationship with the emotion. And of course, then, because we're in a relationship with that emotion, there is a meaning that we have assigned to that emotion. Okay? And the meaning that we've assigned to that emotion, that drives our life. Every word we use either strengthens us or keeps us spinning. So if we go back to that betrayal has a language. It's trying to get your attention. There is an unmet need that betrayal is burying. The only way to find it is to have access to it. But we can't find it when we are blaming betrayal on other people. The only way we can find it is by asking ourselves and inviting that in. By asking, what do I make it mean that they are betraying me? And if they are betraying me, where am I betraying myself? That's the work. That's the work. Okay? Growth, which is on the other side of letting them, our growth is tapping into that emotion, finding out what the language is, what is it trying to ask us, what is it trying to get our attention by, what are we trying to learn for it. That requires a commitment to becoming. Now, becoming, right, and I know it's the title of the show, it can sound fluffy, but I assure you it's anything but. To grow, you have to transition, friends, from where you are to where you want to be. And that requires stepping outside of your current abilities, outside of the loop of what you've always done and inviting in something more. Not just in doing more, not just in doing better, but being different. It's about stepping into a possibility that didn't exist before. Okay? But sometimes what we do instead is we hide behind philosophical contexts and then we call it growth, right? We wrap ourselves in a pretty language. We protect ourselves and others from quote unquote harm's way and think that that's progress. And all we're really doing in that is avoiding the very struggles that would make us strong. And then we wonder why we're not more resilient. Mental health, just like physical health, mental strength, just like physical strength, isn't about cushioning yourself from life. It's about building enough strength on the inside to walk through life as it is. Just like the gym. You don't get stronger by dodging the weights, by walking by looking for the room with the pillows and the blankets. You get stronger by picking them up. You get even stronger by lifting heavier weights. Right? You get stronger by choosing the sacrifice that creates capacity. My client thought that she was protecting herself from avoiding the conversation by trying to quote unquote let them, Be them. How nice of us. But the truth is, she was weakening herself by dodging the very weight she needed to lift. By dodging the very weight she needed to lift. So, as you are navigating emotions, as you're navigating disappointment, expectation, betrayal, frustration, all of those emotions, every single one of them is an invitation for you to explore something within. Something within. Let them is the start, right? Let them is the beginning. But the growth is on the other side of allowing those emotions to speak to you, to indicate to you what is in you to be healed, what is in you to grow. So, as you think about this emotion, this experience, whatever it is for you, I want you to ask yourself a couple of questions. Where in your life are you letting them, but not lifting your own weight? Where are we bypassing behavior, discounting, dismissing behavior with, oh, just let them. They have their own agency, they have their own truth, but not feeling better, right? But not feeling any better, actually feeling quite resentful that you have to let them, right? That all becomes your work, and you're human, you're going to feel that way. Okay? What are you using to block you from doing the work yourself? And I think 99% of the time, it's an expectation that we have. The expectation that we have of other people is the block, typically, for our work. Because we delegate our feelings to someone else with that expectation. So where are we creating unnecessary suffering and pain for ourselves by way of expectations that we have of others? And where do those come from? Why do we have them? Why is there a judgment there? Because I think if you find the judgment there, you will find the judgment within. That judgment within would not exist if you didn't have it to begin with. Where are you using confusion as a shield so that you don't have to make a decision? I see this a lot too, right? The decision for my client was denied, no access to it, because she wanted to stay confused. Well, I'm trying to let them, but I still feel betrayed and I don't know what to do. And do I have a conversation with them? Do I not have a conversation with them? Chaos, confusion never creates clarity for decisions. It just never does. So where can you unconfuse yourself and bring clarity into the conversation in order to make a decision? Because living in maybe, should I not, feels terrible. It feels awful. It feels debilitating, right? And the last question that I want you to kind of consider as you think about these emotions is, what emotion have you been avoiding or perhaps even reacting to that might be trying to teach you something? That is always trying to teach you something. The best curriculum that we have for our own growth, for us to reach a possibility that we didn't even know was possible, to step into the highest of human potential, is the language of emotion. Your emotions keep you stuck. until you become aware of what it is that they're trying to teach you. Okay? So let's walk through this quick and simple, not necessarily easy framework for you to go from logic to strength. Okay? So let them, yes, always start here. Let them acknowledge reality, acknowledge what is, release control. People will be who they are. Great first step. But typically, if there's some lingering emotions that come from just trying to let them, then I want you to listen in. Ask yourself, what is my emotion trying to say? If I wasn't trying to blame my emotion on somebody else, which is always what we're trying to do by way of trying to escape by letting their behavior, okay? What is that emotion trying to say? What need is unmet? What truth are we avoiding? Where are we staying comforted in confusion and chaos as opposed to committed to clarity? And then lift the weights. Do the work. Process the emotion. Name it. Own your part. Have the hard conversation. It's trying to have a conversation with you first, right? Step into the discomfort because that's the sacrifice that builds strength. That's how we get stronger emotionally, by doing the work. So let them listen in, lift the weights, right? Let them. It's a great starting point. If you stop there, you miss the growth that's waiting for you. Listen in, let yourself feel, let yourself learn, let yourself grow stronger through it. Emotional health, mental health isn't about making the world softer for you. It's about making you stronger in a world as it is. This is where sacrifice comes back in. In the gym, sacrifice is trading short-term comfort for long-term strength. We know this. You sacrifice an extra hour of sleep to work out. You sacrifice sugar for fuel. You sacrifice scrolling for sweating, right? Those sacrifices show commitment for your future self, for your physical strength, okay? Emotionally, the sacrifices look different, but they're just as necessary. You sacrifice the comfort of silence for the strength of truth-telling. You sacrifice the comfort of judgment for the growth of compassion. You sacrifice the comfort of avoidance for the strength of confrontation, starting with yourself. You sacrifice the comfort of gossip, even with yourself, for the growth of integrity. Each of these is uncomfortable in the moment. But just like the gym, discomfort is the proof of your commitment. It's the evidence that you're exchanging comfort today for strength tomorrow. Right? And if you want strength that lasts, strength that actually changes who you are, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, you've got to be willing to make those emotional sacrifices. You've got to. You've got to allow them for yourself, and you've got to allow them from other people, right? I want you to do the hard emotional reps. I want you to allow the people in your life, the people that you love, the people that you lead, to do those hard emotional reps. Make the sacrifices to build that strength. Build that resilience. Build that grit. Because what's even better on the other side is knowing that you're strong enough to handle it. Because when you're strong enough to handle it, you grow into the person that your future is asking for you to become. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to listen, hear these harder conversations. But thank you in advance for taking some of the questions that I posed in this conversation and doing the work for yourself. Because if you're not taking these questions and you're not sitting with them and inviting them in, you're actually not lifting the weights. And I know you want to lift the weights because I know you're committed to a strength and a future that you are deserving of. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. If this episode cracked something open, good. Let it. And then head to leahrolingcoaching.com and grab the tools to rewire the story and reclaim your future. It is yours. And then share this with someone who's still waiting to be chosen, still waiting for permission, and remind them they don't need a breakthrough, that they are the breakthrough. Until next time, my beautiful friends, invest in you and keep becoming.